Hey everyone, welcome back to Ninja Viaduct, where we talk about games, film, and all things entertainment, all the things that you love and enjoy with a bit of intelligence to provide some thought-provoking commentary that hopefully you will all enjoy. And in this video, we are talking about CES, especially about the NVIDIA announcements for their 5000 series GPUs, and the fact that Sony is tapping into their IP and making more films, in particular Helldivers 2, which we're looking all forward to. Let's dig in.
In other news for me, I mean, it's been a while since we were able to record and talk, but CES happened. And while I did see a couple of cool different things that were happening over there, I think the biggest announcement for me that I popped off for was that Sony was making a Helldivers movie. And so, for the uninitiated, Helldivers is essentially like Starship Troopers, but like built out a little bit more and a little bit more wacky, I think. But that being said, I haven't watched all the other Starship Troopers aside from the first one, so maybe it does continue to get wacky from there. But essentially, the overall premise is that it is this fictional united force called Super Earth, and they have to defend themselves against various like alien type factions, from like automatons to bug creatures, and as of like early December, a recently reintroduced alien species, all in the name of what they call managed democracy, right? And it's all supposed to be like satire. It's supposed to poke fun at this sort of like fictional, very fascist human regime that's trying to do like some type of manifest destiny in space, but there's a certain magic to it all, really like engaging the audience to it, and I think they're doing pretty well, right? Last I saw, Helldivers 2 was the fastest selling PlayStation Studio game out there, with about 12-ish million copies or so since release, or yeah, about their since release or so. And so I think with a movie, it could be really interesting to have that on the big screen and bring in an even larger audience to possibly play this game, or just to have fun with it. Like I think with Helldivers 2, it doesn't necessarily take itself too seriously, and so I think there's going to be a certain mass appeal to that.
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely Helldivers 2 film would be very interesting. I can definitely see Helldivers 2 being a film where if you have a writer or group of writers that are maybe known to kind of, provide some really good introspective commentary, I think Helldivers is definitely a medium platform or environment where you could really take that far, right? Like I can actually just see a Helldivers movie where on the surface it seems like a over the top, craziness, aliens and like soldiers running around causing mayhem. But I can also see that how writers could position that movie to be like a hardcore commentary on like politics and citing that kind of stuff. I can definitely see that for sure. I mean, of course, the game is poking fun at the whole like democracy. But it's a game, right? It's just using that as kind of like the jump off point for its world. But yeah, I mean, as a movie, I can definitely see that being a very interesting movie. Hopefully, they don't mess it up. I mean, but hopeful. I mean, I definitely liked. What was it? The last PlayStation movie probably was Uncharted, and I thought it was not bad. I mean, it wasn't like top tier, triple A kind of movie, but it definitely wasn't bad either. Definitely like a solid B adventure movie. So maybe got something. But yeah, I'm excited for that too. It's something different. Hopefully the comments out there for the film are not too hard. I don't know. Have you even seen any comments and the kind of the take that the internet has on the films?
I think from what I've seen with most of the Sony movies, so there was Uncharted, and then there was also like Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
which was it was
Oh yeah, Gran Turismo. Yeah.
it wasn't necessarily like a game or like a movie within the game itself, but it was a movie sort of about the game, and or sort of like there was a person who like legitimately played Gran Turismo to kind of like become a better driver, like a properly trained like F1 drivers or something like that. And so yeah, I think the movie was sort of based off of that. And you know, I never watched it myself, but I heard it was like a pretty decent movie. Like it was entertaining, which was sort of my takeaway from the Uncharted movie as well. Like it definitely wasn't the game Uncharted, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you were to kind of just like walk in blind, I think it was still a pretty entertaining film. I did take a crack at like the Twisted Metal show, and once again, you
Yeah.
know, it like this is not winning any huge awards per se, but I thought it was still like pretty entertaining, and I thought at least you know in comparison from Twisted Metal to Uncharted, the Twisted Metal show felt like Twisted Metal, you know, for better or worse. It felt like Twisted Metal, and I think somewhere in there is a happy medium, which I'm hoping that Helldivers 2 or like or the Helldivers movie can achieve, because I think there's just so much going for it about like, and even you know within the game itself, it's such a cinematic game overall. Like you can hop into any mission, play it through, and there's just sort of like the craziness of all the different creatures you have to deal with, you know, dropping the different stratagems on you, and then you know whether you successfully like complete your mission or if you fail your mission, it's all very cinematic. I've seen so many posts of people just like getting completely wiped out, and it feels like it ends on a very somber note for like some type of war movie out there, right? And so I think you take that, but you kind of you know have somewhat of an entertaining twist to it or a comedic twist to it. And so you know I was thinking about different films that they could draw influence from, right? And so right off the jump, you know my mind goes to Saving Private Ryan or Black Hawk Down, right? We Were Soldiers, or even you know Rogue One, right? But I also think you got to take influence from something like Tropic Thunder, right? Where
Yeah.
you know and the whole premise of Tropic Thunder, or like you know the whole like point of it all was to kind of poke fun of the seriousness and the production side of creating these serious war films, right? But I think with that commentary too, it was just like there's something incredibly magical about that movie that I think the filmmakers for the Helldivers movie could draw influence from.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea. I mean, that definitely does make sense. That definitely would make me want to watch it. But yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, you know, it's good. It's good that Sony is trying to utilize their IP to do something more with it. It's just hoping that you know they do take it with good care. You know, I mean, because we all know how the Sony, you know, Spider-Man universe is going, but you know, hopefully they learned the lesson. But yeah, I mean, my guess, because it's their PlayStation IPs, you know, they're definitely going to be very, very, very careful with it. I mean, because that's just, yeah, that's not the kind of publicity that Sony wants for their PlayStation brand, right? So I'm expecting that they're gonna be very careful and they're gonna put some money behind the production and put some money behind make sure that they get the right directors and the right writers to really produce these films. If not, you know, it'll be a shame. Really, it would be better if they didn't make it, if they don't make it proper. But yeah, you know, just like you, I'm looking forward to seeing what they got. So yeah, something amazing stuff.
Yeah, and I think too. I mean, like the difference with Helldivers compared to things like Uncharted and Twisted Metal, even, right, or even you know the Gran Turismo movie, is that this is a post Last of Us world, right? Where with Last of Us, it for the most part is like 90% one to one, right? From video game to television show. And it works. It completely works. And so I think maybe with, hopefully, anyways, these Sony executives are looking at these games and be like, hey, maybe we don't need to do too much with this. We don't need to change up anything. The formula is already there. The general script is already there. We just need to sort of massage it to, bring some of the dialogue to film, to television, right? And so I'm hoping that they'll do the same thing with Helldivers, because just like the world itself, the bones are already there, and you just need to kind of massage certain things out. Now, I do think this can be a little bit risky given the nature of Helldivers, but I have seen some proposals online that I think are actually going to be great. And that, like one proposal is that it's just going to be a constant film of like a rotating cast, because like everyone's just constantly dying, and so it's just a film of cameos, right? Like I can totally see it. Mission starts, drops down, and you get like Ryan Reynolds, and then he'll like use a jump pack, try to jump, hit something, and just like immediately die. And then boom, he gets replaced, and then it's like The Rock or something, right? Just like a constant rotating cast of people. Now, I do think it can be a little discombobulating at times. So at a certain point, you have like a set cast, right? But I could totally see them kind of going about that too. And part of me worries that they'll try to take a little bit more of a serious tone. And like one of the running themes is that like, oh, maybe Super Earth is the bad guys, right? Like us spreading democracy, like maybe we should just leave all these other alien races alone. And so I'm worried that it'll become more of a sort of like a thriller mystery to be like, no, we're the bad guys, and now we have to like take down Super Earth or something. But I kind of wanted to end on that, like, the Helldivers, they discover this and they're like, oh, we are doing bad things, and we're okay with that. And then just the movie just ends. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's definitely a good idea. I hope whoever is making these upcoming films, especially for the Helldivers film, they hear what we have to say, and they take some inspiration for it. Because I mean, I think that would be very, very funny if they had that rotating like A-lister and just dropping down. I mean, I can just see the humor in that. It'd be so funny. Like, oh, Brad Pitt. Oh, Ryan Reynolds. Oh, it's Hugh Jackman, right? Or Natalie Portman. Just like really wacky stuff. It's like you have the A-listers just like dying off in like 5 seconds of the movie. That'd be funny. I can see all the memes of that too, right? So
yeah, for sure.
Good stuff. But the news, for me. I would say if there's anything else interesting me, top of my head, I mean, I don't know so much about, I'm not like a huge, like hardcore person in terms of like GPUs and all that stuff, but definitely the whole like CES announcements of like the NVIDIA stuff, the RTX GPUs, the 5000 series is pretty interesting. I mean, I can't say I have much to say about it, but I will say that I am intrigued with what their value is trying to provide, being that it's much more stronger, obviously, but also that it runs cooler compared to the 4000 series NVIDIA RTX GPUs. And the reason why for me that's interesting is because for me, me well enough, I am really wanting a new laptop, and as much as I prefer a PC Windows laptop. The battery life sucks. They just suck. I mean, so no matter, you can't get around it. Yeah, and that's definitely one thing that Apple has a leg up on in every way form, right? Like you just cannot beat the efficiency of the Apple M series chip 1, 2, 3, or 4. All right. I mean, and that's just the beauty of it, right? You buy MacBook Pro, you can take it with you anywhere you go. The battery life will be good. If you do something heavily intensive, even though it's on battery, it'll still perform as strong with the battery compared as good as if it was plugged in, right? Whereas a Windows, the moment you unplug it, it's just significantly weaker, right? You can't necessarily do the same level of work that you want to do unless it's plugged in. Not only that, it drains the battery. Battery relatively not as comparable. If you buy like a higher spec, a Windows laptop, for example, with like if a top tier AMD or Intel CPU or a AMD NVIDIA GPU, it's just not going to last as long unless you keep it plugged in. And that's always been my issue. So, I'm not talking about visually how games are going to look, although I'm pretty sure they are going to make games look very good. It's just more about, I'm kind of curious if these GPUs are going to be more efficient, such that the battery will be a bit better, where you could do some decent work on it for an extended period of time. And that's kind of something I'm kind of looking forward to hearing more about. Still kind of early, but and I don't know if I'm ever gonna buy like a 5090 and spend like what $2,500 for GPU. Although I'm honestly very curious about what that would look like, but that's way too much money. Like I don't know who in their right mind would spend $2,500 for a GPU like that. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I've never been that sort of deep in the dovetail when it comes to sort of like the technical aspects of it all. All I need to know is that, X thing will help me play, Y game, and that's fine. That's like the extent of my knowledge, but otherwise it's also just sort of like gibberish to me. So yeah, I think I'm, while interesting and I understand the significance of all this different news, for me, I think I'm just I don't think I would ever sort of build my own rig. I think we sort of piecemealed some stuff way back in the day, but even then I was just like, I don't know, this all doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, I think I would just buy all like pre-made stuff, whether it's like an actual PC, desktop, or just sticking to things like established consoles and things like that. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, realistically, too. I mean, if you don't buy a top tier graphics card, I still stand by a statement that we've all made before that, games have reached a point where it's hard to say you are gonna see a bad looking game. I mean, even like a bad looking game, it's still, you could argue, still looks pretty decent, really. Really just the gameplay and all that stuff. So, I mean, yeah, and it, with the cost of games these days, I wouldn't be surprised if, companies are, game development companies, publishers do maybe take a stance and try to make a game that's just not necessarily requiring that, immense visual quality, which takes a lot of work, right? And because it's really not really the tech that's costly. It's more the fact that you need people to build that level of detail, that which would end up requiring that high level GPU just to run it and render it and play the game proper. But so I think for what you just said, yeah, you're probably better off not really worrying about buying 5090, even a 5080. Just mid range, lower range. It's probably going to take you, my guess, 90% of the games out there, and you'll have a good time. So, yeah, would I buy it myself? Probably not. Would I like to buy it? Would I like to try it? I definitely would. But $2,000-$5,000, I can think of a better way to use that money. So yeah, that's why I say the PS5 Pro, although it probably doesn't make so much sense compared to buying a base PS5, when you consider the fact that a PS5 Pro is like what, $700, something like that. It's still relatively much better value than the NVIDIA GPU if it has the games, if it has the games that you want to play. But that's where it's at.
Hey folks, that's the video. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, go ahead and like, comment, and or subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. But until next time, bye-bye.